home in Ballantyne has exploded. This is a live look right now from Chopper 9 Sky Zoom at all that is left of the structure. Just shocking. You can barely even tell that this was once a $1.2 million home.
Video from the moments after that explosion shows smoke climbing from the middle of the rubble. As just feet away, firefighters frantically dug through the rubble, pulling away sheets of plywood and 2x4s.
And the home next door left with a giant hole in its roof, windows busted out, and splintered trees leaning on the home. Neighbors say everything just shook.
And it shook, like I shook.
Yeah.
And I said, oh. And then I walked for a sec and something just told me to turn around and walk back. And I started turning around and all the neighbors started running out of their houses.
Truly incredible. This explosion was so powerful that we found people on social media as far away as Waxhaw saying they felt the rattle in their own homes.
We want to get you updated on the new information that has just come in within the past 15 minutes. We know that after that blast, a victim, a male victim, actually called 911 himself from inside the home. Rescuers were able to get him out of there. He has now been airlifted to the hospital as a priority 1 patient. That is very serious condition. Crews are still in an active rescue mode right now, searching for other possible victims at this hour. We know that 2 other people who were not at that scene were injured, but they have non-life-threatening injuries and they are expected to be okay. All this happened just before 2 o'clock this afternoon on James Jack Lane in Ballantyne, in the middle of this neighborhood. And Channel 9 has a team of reporters covering everything that's happened. We start with our reporter Joe Bruno. He is live for us in Chopper 9. Joe, what are you seeing now?
Erica, we're flying over the house explosion scene. Just take a look at how massive this scene is. Now, I want to give you an idea. When this rescue operation was underway a couple hours ago, the focus was on that red tent right there. That's where predominantly most of the firefighters were focusing their efforts. Now, about 10 minutes ago, Charlotte Fire said that this is still a rescue operation, but one thing is for certain, there just does not seem to be as much intensity as there was about an hour ago when we know that the firefighters were trying to rescue that one man who was trapped in that rubble. So this might be precautionary efforts by Charlotte Fire, just making sure that nobody else was inside the home. But the amazing thing to think about was that that man who was rescued was trapped inside the rubble, and he managed to call 911 and tell firefighters where he was. So firefighters were able to get to him. We then saw that he was put in the medical helicopter. We saw that medical helicopter take off about 15 minutes ago. Presumably he is at the hospital right now. Erica, Allison?
And we certainly hope that he will be okay. We know those injuries very serious. Thanks for that report, Joe.
Our reporter Glenn Counts is live on the ground in this neighborhood with more about what we've learned from them and also from firefighters who've been giving updates on the scene.
Yeah, just a few minutes ago, as a matter of fact, they gave us an update, and that is where we learned that there was someone who was actually inside the house when it exploded. The question they are not answering at this point in time is whether or not the person who was able to call 911 was also able to tell them about a specific person who might have been in the house at the time. Certainly, you know, one of the stories we've been hearing is that this couple had come back home from vacation. That would tell you that there was at least 2 people in there, and probably would possibly explain the urgency of firefighters early on to try and go through all of the rubble to try and locate any possible survivors. One other thing is obviously, you know, you think about this particular situation. A few hours ago, this was just an average, ordinary afternoon in this neighborhood. And all of a sudden, basically, everything went crazy. One woman that we talked to was just on her daily walk and just happened to walk by this house. A few minutes after she walked by it, it completely exploded, and here's her story.
I just went out for a walk, and I put my Beats on, and I put it, 100 decibels, and I walked right past the house. I walked on maybe 2 minutes, and through my Beats, I heard a boom.
Yeah.
Like I thought a tire blew, but it's like a tire blowing, and it shook, like I shook.
Yeah.
And I said, oh. And then I walked for a sec, and something just told me to turn around and walk back, and I started turning around, and all the neighbors started running out of their houses.
Yeah.
And there's debris right where I had walked, and the house was just leveled.
Okay. Yes, and one of the other neighbors that we spoke with also told us, you know, people have been speculating about the cause of this explosion. And one of the neighbors told us he was in his house right here, heard this explosion, actually thought it was his own house. He ran down to the house, was shocked by what he saw, the level of devastation there. But one thing that he said to us that I think was very important, he said that he saw a jet of flame, like it was coming from a natural gas line coming up until firefighters put it out. So that might be a very strong hint as to what happened here. Back to you guys.
All right, Glenn, you can hear the astonishment in those neighbors' voices, truly just taken aback by what happened in their neighborhood. Back to our live images from Chopper 9 Sky Zoom. The tiny sticks that look like toothpicks now used to hold up the walls of this home, this 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom home. Reporter Greg Suskin also live after speaking with several neighbors about what they felt and what they heard.
Yeah, we've been talking about neighbors all afternoon here, and I will tell you, we're here on Ballantyne's Commons Parkway, which of course is just outside the scene. But when we got here just before 2 o'clock, there were easily already 100 people out here on the side of the road that of course were out there looking across the street because of what they heard and what they felt in their homes, even across the street. Now behind me over here, you can see just what the presence of firefighters is like here. You see all those engines lined up. There's another row of engines behind them in the other lane. Obviously, that's got Ballantyne Commons Parkway down to just 1 lane in one direction and 2 lanes in the other, but it is going very, very slowly. But that's how many vehicles are still out here on the scene, and believe me, none have left in the last couple of hours. But there are also some neighbors that saw a whole lot more, folks that were very close to this. We were able to get in someone's backyard. They live right next door to the house where this happened. I want to show you that video right now. As you're able to look up there on the back of that house, we could see the windows on the upper floor just blown out, glass all over the ground, the screens back there on the back of those windows also mangled and knocked out as well to the ground. This is the house that's next door to that. And then from that same vantage point, we could see firefighters working next door by hand, picking through the rubble, kind of going through it hand by hand. They had a little tent back there to protect them from the sun where they were working. We saw that going on for quite some time before firefighters asked us to move back further from the scene. But again, when we got here, we were speaking to neighbors who live across the street. Here's what one man told us just about what he felt, and he doesn't even live in the neighborhood.
I can't imagine being right next to it, how much you could feel it, because it was just the pressure was tremendous.
And again, that's a man who lives on the other side of Ballantyne Commons Parkway in this Ballantyne Meadows neighborhood, which is behind me on the other side of the street. Everyone in this neighborhood was coming out of their homes, walking here to the corner, and just watching this scene develop all afternoon. Back to you guys.
All right, our Greg Suskin reporting live for us there. We now want to show you the alarming before and after picture here. We've been showing you all of this, the rubble of what is left of this house. Well, now this is the before picture. This is a 5-bedroom, 5.5-bath house in the Ballantyne Country Club. It's 6,300 square feet. The county's property appraisal has it valued at being worth more than $1.2 million.